Well, undeterred by the snowstorm that hit Washington overnight, members of Congress convened today for a joint session to count and certify the electoral vote for the 2024 election. Now, that is the final step in the election process that cements the victory of President-elect Donald Trump and paves the way for the transition of power that will take place on January the 20th. Now, Republicans are looking forward to that day, but they won't be sitting on their hands until Inauguration Day. What's on their agenda? Well, here to discuss what we might expect to see over the next 2 weeks is Congresswoman Erin Houchin. She is the House Republican Secretary for the 119th Congress. She represents the 9th Congressional District of Indiana. Congresswoman Houchin, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to Washington Watch and Happy New Year.
Thank you for having me, Tony. Great to be with you.
So take just a moment and share with us your insights on what took place today in the joint session of Congress as the election final step took place as it was certified.
Well, it was amazing to be in the chamber today for the historic moment when Kamala Harris stood and declared Donald J. Trump as the next president of the United States. Really, really exciting, a rousing standing ovation for J.D. Vance, our new vice president. And honestly, Tony, January 20th can't come soon enough. We've already seen Joe Biden issuing additional executive orders on his way out of the office. We are excited to hit the ground running, to get to work as soon as possible. Republicans worked over the weekend on our agenda, and we're ready to go.
So let's talk about that, because last Friday marked the start of the 119th Congress, and we had the election. On the first ballot, we saw that Mike Johnson of Louisiana was reelected as House Speaker. This process of what we're looking at now, going into the first 100 days, this is something that Republicans have been working on for quite some time in preparation for. So tell us what the next 2 weeks are going to look like in preparation of January 20th.
Well, we saw about 12 bills that we prepared to start to pass through our rules package that was passed on January 3rd. Mike Johnson was elected on the first ballot. He's a principled conservative who's done a really, he's had a tough job, and he's done well, an admirable job in performing as Speaker. He had the full and complete endorsement of President Donald Trump to serve as our Speaker. He'll be spearheading, along with Leader Scalise, the rest of our agenda, which includes border security, restoring this economy, unleashing American energy, and just getting us back to American prosperity, putting parents back in charge of education, getting rid of some of these woke policies that have unfortunately infiltrated every corner of the United States.
Talk for just a moment. Explain to our viewers and our listeners, you mentioned the rule package. This was adopted. This sets the rules for the 119th Congress. But there were some bills that went through last time that will be fast-tracked this time. They passed the House last time. Now they'll be fast-tracked. You mentioned a couple of those. Explain how that works.
Yeah, so ordinarily, in order to bring a bill to the floor under what's called, regular order, it has to go through the Rules Committee. I serve as a member on the Rules Committee. And when we passed the rules package, we included bills that we already passed in the last Congress. And we included those because we don't want to have to bring those bills on suspension. And we don't want to have to spend a lot of committee time that's unnecessary in the Rules Committee to bring these bills to the floor. So by including these 12 bills in the rules package, we can bring them to the floor in the upcoming weeks. And we don't have to have a 2/3 majority to pass them. They can pass with a simple majority. We do expect that we'll begin to pass some of these bills very quickly, which will give a jump start to the Trump administration on January 20th.
Now, we don't have time to unpack all of what's going to be in reconciliation, because that's going to be a key part of this first 100 days, and that's a bit complex. But some of the issues that you've already dealt with in the House that are a part of this rules package but will kind of bleed over into the reconciliation is, number one, we got the border issue, but then energy is a big issue. And we had President Biden, trying to, on his way out, he issued another executive order kind of barring exploration and drilling on more land offshore. And so I mean, that's meaningless because President Trump can come right back in and basically rip up those executive orders with one of his own.
Yeah, that was just a stick in the eye of the American people, Tony, on his way out the door, because we can quickly turn that around. We were energy independent for the first time in 40 years under former President Trump's former presidency. We will get there again. H.R. 1 is our Unleash American Energy Act, and that will get to work very quickly. We want to drill here. We want to take advantage of every resource that we have. You'll see in the reconciliation package that we may include some NEPA environmental permitting reform, which will help to fast track some of these pipeline projects that have been stalled by the Biden administration. H.R. 2 is part of that package, and that is our Border Security Act. Again, we want to hit the ground running. We are ready to go. We want to give the president as much of a head start as we can before he takes office on the 20th.
And this is going to have real-time impact on the American people. When we increase our energy production, that's what we saw after the Trump administration, the spike in the cost of gasoline. I mean, these are real things that people are going to see at the gas pump. Hopefully, pretty soon, we're going to see them on the grocery store shelves as the cost of delivering these items to the stores will decrease. We increase the economy, and it's going to affect in a positive way the family budget.
Yeah, it's one of the quickest ways we can get the economy back on track is to begin producing our own energy. That will reduce the cost of goods. It will reduce the cost of transporting goods and products across the country. That is one of the quickest ways we can begin to turn the economy around and generating prosperous revenue for American families. We'll see that, I think, in the next few weeks. And quickly, I think the American people will see some relief.
Congresswoman Houchin, I want to ask you this question. We'll switch gears a little bit. President Biden over the weekend awarded 19 individuals with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Now, this is the nation's highest civilian honor. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was one of them. But the one that I take issue with, well, there's actually quite a few, but one I want to talk about for just a moment, George Soros, who, mega donor to the left, has done more to undermine democracies around the globe with his funding of leftist policies, pro-abortion, radical policies that he pushes. I mean, I can't think of a stronger contrast between the worldviews of administrations and what President Biden is doing on his way out, and hopefully the policies that we'll see advanced by the Trump administration as they come in.
Yeah, that was outrageous, Tony. It's a slap in the face to crime victims across the country, to conservative Americans, to have this award given to George Soros, who has made it his mission to undermine every American city that he can elect a soft on crime prosecutor who will not prosecute even property crimes, let alone other crimes. And so we've seen a destruction in society in American cities because of George Soros and what he has funded. And victims of crime are worse off today than they were prior to President Biden, certainly, but predating George Soros, moving around the country and electing these soft on crime prosecutors. That's not to mention the anti-democratic efforts he's exhibited around the world. Again, I think it's a way to poke the American people in the eye on his way out of office, and it's sad.
Yeah, but thanks for pointing that out in terms of what he's done domestically in supporting these DAs and others who have been soft on crime. And that is even more ironic when you look at even today where Attorney General Merrick Garland was bemoaning President Trump and the possibility of him pardoning these political prisoners that were connected to January the 6th. We're out of time, can't unpack that. We will later in the program. But Erin, I want to thank you for joining us today. Congratulations on your election to a leadership post in the 119th Congress. We look forward to working with you and having you back on the program.
Thank you, Tony. Great to be with you.